Video number 3, the IPS i5 long range test. Am I going to make it to that sweet, sweet barbecue out in Astoria? I know I'm supposed to be working on part 2 of the IPS i5 review, but as you'll probably learn in time, I'm pretty easily distracted. So today I have an interesting problem. I have an invite to a barbecue at a friend's house in Astoria. Now I can take the subway like all the other good little children's, but it is really nice out and I really want an excuse to ride my i5. So let's pull up the map and see what I gotta do. So we're here in East Village. For those people unfamiliar with New York City, here's the island of Manhattan where most of the stuff you associate with New York City is located. Here's Brooklyn where all the cool hipsters live. No, I'm not one of them apparently. And here's Queens where I actually grew up and where none of my cool Brooklyn friends would ever come and visit. No, and I'm bitter. So Astoria is located all the way on the other side of the East River and to the north where the Triborough Bridge is almost. So the ride is about 6.5 miles each way with the Queensboro Bridge right at the halfway point. Now the i5 have a range of 10 miles, which means that I'm probably not going to make it there and back. Well, so the fun of it would be, let's see how far I can go and how long it would take and where I would end up getting stuck at. Okay, so we're outside at the start of the track, at the beginning of the bike trail on 1st Avenue and 2nd Street. So we're going to ride uptown to 59th Street and get on the Queensboro Bridge. Good opportunity to talk about the speed of the i5. I know I had talked a bit about the speed in my last review video, shameless plug here, but after riding it regularly for 2 months, I had some additional thoughts. So yes, the i5 is not a very fast unicycle. Bicyclists are faster. However, what I noticed was that most people don't really pedal their bike at full speed anyhow. Messenger and angry commuter aside, that is. Most people are out enjoying the ride and really aren't in as much of a hurry as I thought they would be. So I wasn't really getting the hate I thought I would get in the bike lane for not being fast enough. Now that had to be tempered by the fact that I no longer have a long commute to Midtown, where a large portion of the commuter traffic really are. By the way, this bicycle trail we're on currently is the main bicycle artery into the city, since it is the only protected bike trail that connects the bridges downtown with the business district Midtown, where a lot of people work. So in the morning, this gets a bit crazy. As a matter of fact, I remember from years past when I was part of the herd that during early spring, when it first starts to get warm and more people start to ride their bike to work, Occasionally, the cop would set up hidden checkpoints, usually near the entrance to the Midtown Tunnel, where people who are rolling with the lights tend to get caught by a red and want really badly to run it right about here. And funny enough, there will be a few cops hiding behind the tree in this little park, and they actually jump out to catch anyone running the light. Speaking of lights, this is the other thing you might not know about New York City. On the larger avenue, to help facilitate traffic flow, the lights are timed like a wave. So if you're going at a specific speed, and if you're lucky enough to somehow avoid traffic, you can theoretically hit nothing but green lights for the entire length of an avenue, all the way from downtown to uptown, which could be a really beautiful thing. Now, I think there's actually a video of a cab driver hitting something like 60 green lights in a row. Very satisfying if you're a New Yorker. So I think that magic speed that allows you to be in sync with the green light is actually something like 28.5 miles an hour, as I have heard at one point. I don't know if they had changed it since the speed limit had been dropped to 25 miles per hour, maybe. Now, back to the talk about speed of the I-5. As you can see, it really isn't that bad and does keep up with the traffic decently. Well, not as fast as the boosted bore. There you go. Bye-bye. Okay, we're at the foot of the Queensboro Bridge, about 20 minutes into the ride. Not too bad, I guess. I'll add some stats from the i5 app and talk a little bit about the range I've been seeing with the i5. I also added a gauge from the GoPro app. However, since it was based on GPS, it's actually not terribly reliable. I also lost a chunk of the reading from the scooter, still trying to figure this out, but you'll see it pop up in a little bit. So the thing I didn't realize before I bought the scooter was that the electric battery range doesn't really work the same way as, let's say, a gas-powered car or motorcycle. There isn't a direct correlation from 1% of your battery, however much watts that equate to a specific distance. As a matter of fact, if you look at the battery percentage, you'll notice that it fluctuates as the load on the electric motor increases as I go up the bridge. By the way, while I was waiting to set up my gear, the battery gauge on the scooter actually reads at 99% full. Again, since it wasn't under load, that it's not really an accurate representation of the amount of juice you got left. So the only really way to get an accurate reading is by going and looking at the gauge while your motor is under load. The other interesting thing is that the top speed does not seem to be affected by the climb. I'm still at 20+ km/h speed, which is equivalent to 14 miles per hour, but I'm sure I'm burning up more power due to the slope on the bridge. Now the top speed on the scooter is actually artificially limited, since on an electric unicycle, the motor is used both for acceleration, deceleration, and keeping you balanced. As you approach the 20 km/h speed, the scooter starts beeping at you, basically telling you that you're exceeding its ability to braking reasonably well and keeping you balanced. Now, if you continue to push the scooter faster, at some point you get a tilt back, which is basically the scooter forcibly tilting backward. Since you control the speed entirely through the pressure on the pedal with your foot, this is actually pretty jarring. It was such a weird sensation that I actually had to stop the first time I experienced it. By the way, there have been a huge burst of electric vehicle on the road. Of course, all the delivery guys has been riding electric assisted bikes for years and years. Not so much of the messengers, probably out of pride than anything else would be my guess. But I have been seeing a lot of electric scooter and skateboards just about everywhere, and even bumping into a few other electric unicycles on a pretty regular basis. So I made it through Long Island City with this forest of new fancy condo buildings and continued my way to Astoria. Since it's not far from the East River, the neighborhood is relatively flat, which keeps the battery happy. Not surprising really, since I knew that I wouldn't have any problem making it there. Now coming back home is a different story. Finally, after slightly more than half an hour worth of riding from my home, I arrived at my friend's house. Not too bad, considering Google Maps estimated driving time, in a car that is, to be only 5 minutes faster over the 6.4 mile distance. So a few things. While I'm picking up beer, I realized that I left my wallet home. Now, aside from being a terrible guest and a freeloader at the barbecue, this also means that catching the subway in case if the I-5 dies on me is no longer an option on the way back home. 2, oh, well, I did make it to the barbecue. That was the whole point, no? Which was excellent. So now I'm also a few pounds heavier as well. And with the clouds rolling in and the sun going down, it's time to go home. Battery check. It is looking pretty good so far. As a matter of fact, a little bit too good. Remember that earlier talk about capacity under load? Lies. I suspect that once I get rolling, that number is going to drop and drop even more once I hit the bridge. The ride through the rest of Astoria and Long Island City was uneventful, and I even managed to maintain the full 14 miles per hour max speed the whole way, since there's a slight actual downhill as I come to the bridge. Now comes the real test, Queensboro Bridge Part 2. So I'm going to put the battery gauge back up, just so that you can see what the effect of not having a full battery and going up this pretty steep bridge incline. Although it is still reading as more than 50% full, it's not really feeling like it. Right away I lost the max speed and it's knocked down to about 10 miles per hour, and probably even slower than that actually. Still decent and beat pedaling a bike up or walking, which I'm starting to suspect that I'll have to start doing soon. The climb was slow and the bridge felt like it's twice as long when I first passed it only hours ago, but I was making progress and losing battery very quickly along the way. Now supposedly there is a regen braking on the scooter, which means that as I rode downhill and started braking, it'll actually recharge my battery some. So I made it past the midpoint, and on my way down the bridge, the battery is looking very happy since there are hardly any loads on the motor. But what I was hoping for is the regen braking to kick in, but to tell you the truth, although there is a steady downslope, I don't really think I'm braking very much. And it is burning energy right now, slightly, but it's not really putting back anything in the bank either. Alright, made it past the bridge, and now I'm going back downtown via 2nd Avenue. I thought I was out of the woods, but I forgot there is a large hill I had to climb around 50th Street. Yikes, now the scooter's really crawling. Come on, keep going, little guy. Come on! Alright, we made it around 30th Street and back into the embrace of the protected bike lane. Thank God. Well, I'm really crawling now, so I'm mostly staying to the side of and let the cyclist pass. However, I'm starting to think that I might just make it. Made it past 14th Street. We're in the home stretch. We're doing it. The I-5 is on mile 13 despite its 10-mile range claim. It isn't fun going at this speed, but then again, it beats walking certainly. And we finally made it back to the East Village. After 13 miles of hard riding and crossing the Queensboro Bridge, not once, but twice, on a 10 miles rated I-5 scooter, we made it home. I know this is probably not terribly impressive for a lot of larger scooters with range double or triple that of the i5. However, you have to give it some prop to be able to fit that kind of endurance in such a little package. Alright, we made it to the end, and if you're still here with me, I have to thank you again for watching. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button to let me know that you enjoy the video and like to see more, and for me to quit slacking off and make the then part 2 of the i5 review video. So, until then,